Hi there, friends. Today I would like to talk to you a little about planting under mature trees. If you're new to the channel, my name is Cheryl and I garden in Zone 8A. And I have a stand of very old, very tall white oak trees in my backyard. And they must be, I'd say, at least 70 years old, maybe older, I'm not sure. They're very tall. And a few things to consider when you are planting under these big trees. The most important thing to consider are the trees themselves. These trees are old, magnificent, beautiful, and important to our environment. And we have to be careful not to damage the trees. And that begins with the roots. When you see exposed roots like this tree is showing, you never want to cover those with soil because those exposed roots are helping the tree take in oxygen. And of course the roots under the soil are helping to bring up water. And so when you are planting, you need to be careful not to cut any roots that are 1 inch to 1.5 inches in diameter. If you come across a root that size, you just need to move your plant to another location. You also have to think about what's up above you and what will be potentially falling down on your plants. So if you have very delicate small plants, there's a risk something could fall from above and damage them. So keep that in mind as well. Another thing to keep in mind is that the soil is very dry. Even after a rain that we had yesterday, you can see this soil is very compacted. And here in Zone 8A in North Carolina where I live, it's clay. So it's very dry, clay-packed soil that we're dealing with. So it's going to take some amendment before you're going to have plants really thrive in these kinds of conditions. You also have to keep in mind that you're going to have to potentially struggle with a lot of invasive plants that may have been growing with the tree for a long time. In my case, I have this runaway wisteria, I think that is, and ivy, which as you can see likes to climb up the tree, and I'm constantly battling to keep the ivy and the wisteria under control. So when I plant anything, this is a bed I'll be working on. Well, it's not even a bed yet, but this is an area I'm going to try to turn into a bed at some point. But as you can see, I have some aggressive plants that are already here, which will be competing with anything I plant. I can't eliminate these. I can only cut them and pull them out a little at a time. And my goal is that over time they give up. But that's another thing to consider, that you have a lot of competition among plants that you may not be wanting in your garden bed. So now I'm going to drop in some footage of a makeover of one of the other beds in my shady area in the backyard and how I went about updating this garden space. Okay, so you know how when you get something new, it makes you want to change everything around it to make it look better? This is the other bed that I need to refresh a little bit, and now that I've done this pretty new pot, I want to get in here and start working on this bed a little bit to give it a little bit of a freshen up a little bit. I bought some new plants. This one is called Gold Leaf Tansy, and I may have to watch it because it may be a generous spreader. That one I'm going to add right there. And this one's called Lady's Mantle. I'm going to try to put that one right there. I moved one of the smallest stilbies closer to this other one that's doing a little bit better. Now here's the old plume or the stalk for the flower last year. I'm going to snip that one out, but you can see a new one's coming up right behind it. So maybe I'm going to get some blooms this year that I actually see, since I'm out here in the backyard a little more often. Then I'm going to straighten up my bird bath. It's leaning, so I'm going to put some sand and try to get that straightened up so it's a little straighter. I might move this pot around over here to the near the shovel. And I bought another columbine. This one's got kind of more of a burgundy orangey red flower than the other one I have, which is kind of a dark purple. So I'm going to put that one in this bed, and then I'm going to add this flower, or plant I should say. It's called Toad Lily. You see the tag there? Toad Lily, and it gets those little red flowers on it, but it's kind of got the same coloration of like a hosta, but it looks like it grows upright a little more than a hosta. So those are the things I'm going to add. And here's some things that I added recently. I added these chartreuse colored heucheras and these wine colored astilbes. I have I have 4 now of the heucheras. I got the small one in the back that's the original one. I bought these 3 new ones, the big ones. And then I have 3 of those astilbes kind of going around this big tree. Hopefully the sun's not going to mess up the photo or the image. And I'm going to have to trim back some of these weeds. You see a lot of those old vines coming up around the tree again, and some other weeds in here. So that's what I'm going to work on. I also need to do, like, I've never done a proper edge on this bed. I'm not sure if I'm up for that today, but at some point I definitely need to do that as well. But for now I think I'm just going to add the plants, maybe add a little bit more mulch to freshen this up, and straighten up my bird bath. And I'll give you a shot of what that looks like. Oh, on the other end I'll show you, I have some I have 2, well actually I have 1 now. I need to get one of those. Maybe I'll do that today as well. Get another heuchera. This one I moved its sister over to the other new bed by the bench. So I might get another one of those, that same caramel color, and add it back here next to this other rock. It was here before, the other one was, so I'll add that back here, and I'll show you how it all looks. So when you're digging holes around these big trees, it's hard to get very much size on a hole. So I'm definitely going to be adding some fertilizer today, and throw that in the hole, and then I'm going to get a little of this compost, put that in there as well. Sorry for the video quality here. Okay, I'll put some more around the plant when I put it in, but just want to make sure I can give this plant as much help as possible, because it's got to compete with these big tree roots. Okay, so when you see a plant like this, when you take it out of the container and the roots have formed a circle like it's running around the bottom of the container. You want to try to break those roots up to give the plant a chance to give the roots a chance to kind of get established in the ground and not grow in a circular pattern like that. So I'm going to stop the camera and break the roots up with my hands. It's kind of hard to do while I'm holding the camera, but I'll do it and then I'll show you what I mean here. Okay, so that may look a little extreme, but it actually helps the plant. If you probably already know this, but in case you're like me and didn't know it until someone told you about it, maybe this will help you when you're planting in your garden. Okay, so I've gone through and planted the new plants and snipped out the old vines that were sneaking back in. Repositioned my bird bath. I think it looks a little bit straighter. And I've raked out some of the old leaves. I have them raked around the edges. So I'm going to take my little gorilla cart and go pick those all up. And I know that's organic material that would break down over time, but just to make the beds look a little bit fresher, I'm going to put some fresh mulch down, and I'll take these leaves and put them back against the edge of the property line there where I've been letting them just kind of slowly break down back there and along the back of the fence. But I think that looks a little bit better. I'll pick those leaves up and put some mulch down, water everything in, and fill my bird bath back up, and then I'll give you one last shot. My goal for this shady area in the backyard is to plant as many areas under these trees as I can, and I've started all along the perimeter, but I haven't officially created garden beds in those areas. At this point I have 3 shade garden areas, and otherwise I just have a few plants along the perimeter where the fence is that I've just planted there and tried to knock the weeds back occasionally, but I haven't mulched or really focused a lot on those areas. But now that I have these 3 established garden beds, I like to turn my attention to some of the border area and to officially claim those as garden beds and mulch them and add additional plants. What are in those border beds now are primarily shrubs and things that I hope will create some privacy between the neighbors and me. But I'm really enjoying working here in the shady area of my yard. I have neglected the front yard most of this year. Hopefully I'll turn my attention back to that soon. But for now I'm really enjoying working back here in the shade, particularly on these very hot and humid days that we've been having. It's at this time of year it's almost unbearable to work outside, especially doing heavy jobs like, spreading mulch and digging. Honestly, when it's as humid as it has been, almost walking through the backyard is a chore. You can hear me huffing and puffing even in this video that was shot, I think, in early June. I pan around now to show you the 2 previous garden areas I've worked on, and I'll link those videos if you're interested. The bird condo standing in the center of the screen right now is the area that I did a refresh video on, and I'll include the link here now. And I just freshened this bed up, added a few plants, and put down some new mulch. You can watch that video if you're interested. And then the garden area by the bench is a new garden bed that I installed this year, and I'll include the link for that video if you're interested. But here around this area on the right side of the yard, where my compost bins are back there. I'm hoping to install a garden shed soon, and it will be located somewhere where the bird feeder is currently located. This area is super dry and hard for grass to grow, and so mowing is always a dusty mess, and I'm hoping to kind of mulch as much of this area as I can and claim it as garden space. So the garden shed hopefully will block a little bit of my compost bins, and it's the most level area in the yard as well, and I've looked above for the trees to make sure I don't have any large branches that might fall and damage the shed. So I'm looking for this area right here to be where my shed will go, and then, as I say, I'll plant the areas around it and allow a little area to remain as a grassy path to access the shed and to also access the compost bins. And here's just another look from this bed back over to the one that we were just working in. So thank you so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I will check in with you again sometime soon.